Hi. Hey, Gorge. Hi, hello, how are you? Sorry, I've been watching a lot of ContraPoints. Okay. Hi, it's Kendall here. I feel awkward and unseasoned. It has not been that long since I've sat down here to do my makeup or talk about things, but you'd think that my hands are not my own and my mouth is completely disjointed from my face and my body. What else is new? Hello, it's Kendall here. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not new around here, what is up? Home skillet biscuit. And happy Saturday. If you don't know what Saturday is when I do a little something on my channel called Bad Movies in a Beat, the series on my channel where I talk about bad movies while putting my makeup on. So a few things that you don't care about before I get started in the video. One, I bought a new camera. If you're sitting there like, wow, Kendall, it looks exactly the same, it's because I'm using my old camera. Because fun fact, we've now decided that the universal cords that of my time are no longer universal. Y'all got some new shit now. And now, despite having spent $1,300 on a camera, I can't use it until I buy a $20 cord. Woo, Kenny, get that bag, upgrade that stuff so that you can make better content. I'm trying. But with that said, my wallet is crying, so feel free to sit through another ad from NordVPN. Take it away, ad roll, Kenny. This video is sponsored by NordVPN, the virtual private network that I personally use to keep my internet browsing safe and secure. It allows you to surf the web without worrying about your internet provider selling your information and tracking what websites you go to. And as a person who ends up on incredibly random and weird parts of the internet, I really appreciate that someone out there doesn't know I ended up on the eyeball licking side of YouTube. Until I just said that, but at least it was my call, Comcast. I've once likened NordVPN to a condom for your internet, and I got away with it the last time, so I'm going to say that again. It protects your data as if it were encased in a prophylactic of internet browsing protection. God, I love my job. I get paid for this. But perhaps the coolest thing is that you can link up to servers in 59 countries and surf the internet as if you were there. You like British shows on Netflix? Bam! Now you're in England. It's also an incredibly fast and easy way to find the best entertainment around the world. Go to nordvpn.com/Kennie and use code Kennie to get a 2-year plan at a huge discount plus 4 free additional months. It's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Big thanks again to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get on to the debauchery. Okay, so last time I was here though, I did not talk about a bad movie because I was PMSing and I was basically on the verge of arson if I had to watch another thing that made my blood boil to such a high crescendo. So instead, I put my art hoe hat on and we talked about how Midsommar is a better movie than Hereditary, even though they're both made by the same director, Ari Aster. It was quite the debate in there, and I gotta say, I loved it. Oh, I was living. You idiot! You don't know what art is. You took everything so literally. And I'm like, yes, fester off of your pretentious art brain. Ooh, it sustains me. So if you would like to check out that video, feel free to check it out up above. Or I think it's in the Bad Movie in a Beat playlist. Honestly, I don't know where I put it. I probably put it there because that's where all my movie reviews go, even if it's not technically a bad movie. But this week, being that my uterus has decided to retire for the next 3 weeks, we can get back to business. We can get back to the trash. I love trash. Can we say? I joke about like having to quote unquote suffer through films, and a lot of them are rough, but like I love this. I really do. Bad movies really do like feed the soul. It reminds you of your humanity. It reminds you that you have the ability to critique things. It's like a puzzle. It's like live action Clue. Speaking of which, completely off topic, I went to dinner theater for the first time in my life, and one dinner theater, and I genuinely believe that I was able to catch the murderer, one, because I was sitting right next to her, and two, because my entire job is just saying how things and alibis don't make sense. But yes, I was living out my Linda from Bob's Burgers fantasy, and I went to dinner theater! Dinner theater! Ah! Loved it. I see what the appeal is, girl. Anyway, I say all that to say I love a bad movie, but there are certain types of bad movies that I don't really look forward to watching. One of which are teen romance. Well, I have a love-hate relationship with teen romance because they feel like vindication, because I was a big romance fan well into my early adulthood even. And so now that I'm just a sour, decaying 26-year-old, there is a part of me that still has something warm in my heart to basically say how toxic all of the love stories I loved were. And any new age love story coming out, I love tearing them apart for the young masses. So when I was made aware that they're making a third kissing booth, aptly named The Kissing Booth 3, I just felt like, God, I don't know what else. I've said all that I can say. Fret not, I was gonna watch it regardless because those movies gives me coin. Speaking of which, the first video is at the cusp of 1 million views as I'm recording this. So if you want to pop over and watch that, like 200 of you guys, that'd be great. Well, actually, I'll be linking down the first 2 videos in case you don't actually want to sit there and watch a 4-hour long montage and bad acting. The first movie was about their incredibly toxic relationship. The second one is about their incredibly toxic relationship, but now with like external factors like female friends and possibly a man who's trying to encroach on the girlfriend, you know, people trying to break up your completely solid foundation. So when they were like, oh, we're coming out with a third one, I was just like, what else is there to do? Like what else is there to say? Are the brooding hot 25-year-old teenagers gonna now be actually 25? Also, as a side note, I believe The Kissing Booth 1 was where we debuted that banger. Brooding hot 25-year-old teenager with the dark past and a violent temper. This anger and toxic traits will never be assuaged by our main character. But she loves him. That matters. Like, are they going to college? Like, what are they doing? I was preparing and bracing myself for the worst. And you know, I've taken some rather controversial takes on movies before. I am gonna go on record and probably be the only person who will openly admit this on the internet that this movie is bad. But it's not as bad as the last 2. As a matter of fact, I think it's far better than the last 2. I think this movie was actually quite cognizant of kind of the complaints and the concerns that a lot of people like me and a lot of other creators who have made videos about the kissing booth and kind of how toxic and uncomfortable their relationship was. I really think that they kind of took that into consideration while making this movie. At least it feels like it from my end. I don't feel like this movie, like the other ones, kind of relish in that toxicity. And I'll explain why. Because you're probably like, what? Everybody's so annoying. Everybody's so codependent. Everybody's so terrible. Yes, some people in real life are just codependent. Some people in real life are terrible. But now I feel like this movie is actually a great foundation if you're trying to teach young people how to stand up for themselves in friendships and relationships, what have you. Though, of course, the movie is terrible in all of the fundamental ways that the other ones were, in the sense of like bad acting, terrible writing, like weird emotive choices. Wow! What? So it has all of those things, and I expected all of those things. I expected the bad acting. I expected the incessant montage. But what I did not expect is like anything of substance from this movie. I'm not gonna call this a defense of The Kissing Booth because it's not good enough to defend it, like, again, as a movie. This is more so, I see what you were doing there and I appreciate it. The original Kissing Booth is actually based off of a Wattpad story, and I highly doubt that they wanted to have a less than toxic end at the end of it. I highly doubt that's what they did. So my suspicion is that they went off script and created a story that had a better narrative at the end of it than like codependency on like super toxic relationships, friendships, and actually considering, especially as women, what we want out of life. And I can't knock them for that. And I won't knock them for that. Not the first time I had a rather hot take on something, so boo. And true, my expectations weren't particularly high, but somehow the movie figured out how not to burrow its way, go for its way under my incredibly, exceedingly low expectations. And for that, mini claps. So this is me saying it verbally for those of you that thought I was being facetious, being held hostage even by Netflix or like the personification of the movie. These are all my own thoughts. These are all my own opinions. I'll say this, if you've seen the other movies and you're kind of aware that, yes, I will sit there through 2 hours of montage. Yes, I will sit there through just like horrible acting and horrible dialogue and insufferable people. You won't be surprised when that's exactly what you're doing. Granted, they did roid up the best friend a little bit. He became just even worse. He was pretty annoying, but like I knew that's what I was going into, so that was sort of a given. I didn't think they were gonna go from like 2016 YouTube skit to like Oscar bait. Like I knew what we were working with here. So without further ado, this is The Kissing Booth 3. Now, like I said, I should have expected the movie to be 2 hours long, but it still shocked me when I saw it the first time. I was like, Jesus, are you serious? I thought we could shave a few minutes off like we did for the last 50 Shades of Grey. It's like, we're just closing up some things. Theoretically, I don't need to draw this out for a whole 2 hours. And especially when you end up actually watching it, there's so much of the movie that can be cut out. Another thing I should have expected, and I did expect, was that we're going to get a recap very abruptly at the beginning of the movie that's going to be in the form of just an exceedingly long montage. They got better with the montages in this movie. At least it didn't feel like as many as the last time, or like the montages made sense in the context of the story throughout the movie, but there's still a lot of montage. Back with Elle and her best friend, Lee, and her best friend's brother, who is also her boyfriend, Noah, who goes to Harvard. Ain't seen him pick up a book all 3 series, but yup, he definitely going to Harvard. Elle and Leah have just graduated, and now she has to choose between going to Harvard with her boyfriend or going to Berkeley with her incredibly codependent best friend. Why is that how you chose what college to go to? That would have been my first confusion. You're going to study things, not to be with your best friend or your boyfriend either. You can do that for free without acquiring just very, very large amounts of debt. But she's mulling it over, and in the meantime, she's lied to both of them and said that she's been waitlisted for both colleges. So she doesn't know where she's going, when actually she's been accepted outright by both of them. Woo! Sorry, it shook me. Okay, Miss Denona, but I'm still not okay with it. This eyeshadow came out. Miss Denona. But yeah, she's sitting there mulling over which college to go to. She's dipping and dodging like admissions officer, which, you know, I definitely went to college yesterday, so I definitely remember that when I was in college. No one's chasing after you, especially not an Ivy League. It's like, bitch, everybody want to come here. Either you with it or you're not. I didn't get accepted. I didn't even apply to an Ivy League. I didn't want to go. I was like, this is a lot of money just to not have a job afterwards. Anyway, but like I said, this is like a big deal for Elle because her lifelong friend Lee and her have these incredibly arbitrary and incredibly childish rules, many of which revolve around them basically devoting their entire lives to each other. And it's like, okay, so y'all never planned to have a life outside of each other? Wow. I've never... I have some very close friends. I have some friends that I'm like, you my ride or die. But I could never imagine being so wrapped into another person. Concept of like a friendship that's so all-encompassing like that. It's actually quite disturbing to me. Maybe that's why I would get very annoyed. I have no one in my life that would expect me to change things for them in that way, or vice versa. I find it very weird. I would not pick a school because I want to be close to a friend. That's stupid. That's dumb. Also, when are you gonna make new friends? More friends? You just gonna have one friend your entire life? You don't plan to talk to anyone else? Okay, anyway. Me personally, this is a side note. I didn't even write this in the script. I think one of the things that I am happiest about in regards to my college time is that I focused most of my time on making friendships. And there's nothing wrong with dating and stuff in college and stuff like that. You can do that too. What I've learned is that 9 times out of 10, those relationships don't last, but a friendship will be more likely to if you cultivate good friendships. Because imagine spending all 4 years with one person, whoever it is, one friend, one boyfriend, whatever. Then you graduate and y'all break up, or you're no longer friends, or they move somewhere else. And it's like, wow, I could have used that time to cultivate things that I really enjoy, things that I want to study, friends that I want to make. So that's my life lesson for those of you in college. Making friends is important. I don't know how you do that in COVID. I'm sorry, I really don't. I just really gave you a new thing to be anxious about. I'm sorry. Cultivate like a social network more so than like these relationships that most likely won't last. Speaking of my whole tangent that I just went on, I would like to applaud the movie for this. And this is what I was getting at before. I feel like if you sat down with your however old little sibling or your child or whatever and watched this movie, and they're around the age that would appeal to this movie, watched it and critiqued certain elements of their relationships, I think this movie could be very, very helpful for that conversation. Very much so. Because if I saw this and I have my like little 13-year-old cousin come over and we're watching this, I would say to her, that's unhealthy. Don't do that, because you can see an example and you can hear a display of someone saying that's not a great idea. By the end of this movie, I actually had quite a few situations where I'm like, this is a life lesson I could teach to a younger audience. Like lessons from Kissing Booth 3. I hate to say that. Lessons from Kissing Booth 3. Ding, ding, ding. 1, do not pick a school, a job, a major life choice because of anyone else, no matter how close they are to you. Not because of a friend, not because of a significant other, not because of your parents, and that was particularly difficult because they're your parents. Think of it this way, and this is kind of how I've always thought about it, and it's a little morbid. Have I talked to my therapist recently? Anyway, best case scenario, you're gonna outlive a lot of people, particularly your parents. The ideal situation is that your parents will die at some point and you will still be alive. I know that sounds fucked up, follow me. Would you like to look back on your life and realize that the entire life that you built for yourself is not your own? It was the aspirations, the fears, the anxieties of other people? Or would you like to look back on your life and say, this is the life that I planned and wanted and was destined for me, and I failed or I succeeded or whatever, but it was my own? I feel like a lot of people are living the lives that others have said was best for them and have never considered where their life is supposed to go or what they want to do with their lives. So they end up middle-aged with like a wife and kids, and now suddenly you want to do a midlife crisis. I'm an advocate for people making educated risks, calculated risks. I'm all for people doing things that they want to do, going with where their talent is, going with what drives them, what sets their fire. Like if you don't know what drives you, I think college is the place to figure out what drives you. I feel like a lot of people think it's there to study a specific thing, and sure, that may be true, but at least in my experience, I just kind of went what interests me, and by nature, because it interests me, I wanted to learn more, and because I wanted to learn more, I did well in those classes, and because I did well in those classes, you follow me? College isn't for everyone, but I feel like if you don't know what is for you, I wouldn't exit out college before you figure out what is good for you. I'm going on tangent after tangent after tangent. What I was saying though, what the point of this was, don't do any form of education or any major life decision, job, what have you, for other people. Cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. But back to Elle. She's ditching and dodging the admissions people, and again, I ain't never heard of nobody trying to track you down like that. They don't give like other people want to come here. Come on now. Also, I noticed the wig back sis. I don't know what it is about Hollywood, because clearly, I say that and watch my wig is all f***ed up. It's not my best work, but clearly we can lay a lace, we can pluck something. There's so many black women out there who are just like making wigs that look like it comes literally out of your scalp. And somehow Hollywood is still doing like Roblox wigs. I will never understand. But anyway, we need to have a conflict of this movie. Well, there's like 8 conflicts of the movie. We had to add this incredibly relatable side plot about how, oh my God, what are they gonna do? Because Noah and Lee's parents are selling the family beach house. I remember when that happened to me, it was so rough. And because of that, there is now a new sense of urgency in regards to them having, quote, the best summer ever. Super friend-tastic. And during this endeavor, they somehow were able to turn Lee into just the most annoying person in the world. Effectively, Lee is now the official enemy, in my opinion, of the series, because he's just the worst. He really is. He's very annoying. Actually, in fairness, everyone's pretty insufferable, but Lee was like, hey, you brought him up to 1,000 this time. So yeah, they're like, let's make sure that this is the best summer ever. And how do we make sure we do that? We do another freaking montage. At the end of which, Elle finds this old like lunch box that they used to have when they were kids, inside of which they have another list. Very organized children they were.
What? Oh my God. Wait, is that what I think it is?
What? No way! Cartwheel. This list is called the Summer Bucket List. All the things that they want to do before they go to college. And how serendipitous. Now they have a new goal. And it's perfect timing. They're going off to college. They're selling the beach house. You know, let's make this summer last forever. Ding, ding, ding. Another lesson. Don't be a super weird codependent friend. I've already alluded to this earlier, but that's definitely a lesson worth learning. Elle ends up deciding that she's going to go to Harvard. Instead of being happy about that because your friend got into Harvard because what? Again, she didn't read a book this whole time either, so congratulations. He's just kind of pissed that she's leaving him to go to Harvard. Maybe it's just because I'm very impatient when it comes to certain things like this, but if I noticed my friend was so offended by me going to Harvard, we don't need to be friends. I don't feel like we have a healthy expectation for what a friend can and what a friend cannot do. Especially how he brought it up. It wasn't like aw, I'll miss you. That makes me kind of sad because I'll miss you, which is like the normal way to respond to that. But I'm so happy for you and I want to congratulate you because I'm happy for your success, because that's what friends are. But no, he just sit there and bitch about how she's gonna be leaving him. This is why I don't wear skin out, because then you're gonna bring it down chest. I don't know, to me it just feels like a very weird amount of codependency. You're not going to the school to be with me, you're going to the school to learn something. Like, if your friend can't be happy for your successes, then they fundamentally can't be your friend. But despite Lee's wallowing, they decide to again make this the best summer ever. They have a party, invite the arbitrary other characters of the other movies, the OMG girls, who, despite being the most popular girls in school, literally have nothing to do with this storyline, which in fairness is pretty accurate to real life. Like, the most popular girls in school really don't matter in any other context. At said party, Lee meets a friend who's going to Berkeley. And I'm like, great, you will find somebody else to be all wrapped up into, and not just Elle, but Elle, for some reason, gets jealous of that. Get some new friends. Like, you don't have to lose the old ones, just get some more of them. Like, Jesus, okay. Like, I've never understood the weird possessiveness of friends. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, monogamy has no place in the world of friendships. That is so weird. We get Marco back because he fine as hell. He fine as but weirdly enough, he does have this look of like the vaguely ethnic version of Noah, Mexican Noah. Like, he's so fine. And so not 18. That is like a 30-year-old man. Yeah, Marco, if you recall, is the other man from the last movie. The one that nearly broke up Noah and Elle. But they're on good terms now because, you know, she's just explained to him that he's not the one and that she loves Noah, and that is what it is. So now when they see each other, it's a little awkward, as you'd imagine. But they're on cordial terms. He's like, I work at the water park. If you ever want free tickets, let me know. And she's like, that's incredible. Thank you. So, speaking of the people that work as objects of jealousy and tension in Noah and Elle's relationship, here we have Chloe. And if you recall from the last movie, she's Noah's best friend that he met at Harvard, because again, he definitely went there. And I guess I'm alone in this, but I said in my last review, I don't like Chloe. I don't like Chloe. I feel like she is inappropriately flirtatious with Noah. And everybody was like, oh, people are just so jealous. What did she do? She did nothing wrong. Men and women can be platonic friends. Blah, blah, blah. Yes. Who said they couldn't? I don't like her. I don't like her very much. I still don't. Chloe don't know boundaries. So maybe she didn't want to have sex with Noah or didn't want to do anything. But the way she behaved was deeply inappropriate in my opinion. And she still does some things that makes me uncomfortable in this movie. But she's not as bad as she was in the last movie. But there are some moments that I was like, no, I stand by it. I would never fight over a man, but I would beat a bitch up for disrespect. As a disclaimer, that's a joke. Violence is never the answer, except for when it is. But no, it's not, because I'm a public figure. I have to lie to you. But anyway, Chloe's back and she wants to stay at Noah's place while she's in town. Noah tells Elle just to make sure that everything's okay with it, so she doesn't think something's going on. And she's like, oh, it's fine, like y'all are friends or whatever. Oh, so I ran into Marco and he invited me to the water park. Do you want to go?
Oh, cool. Marco.
It's kind of a double standard. I was totally fine with Chloe.
Well, I didn't kiss Chloe.
Fair. They decide to go together. They make up. Like, don't be mad. Like, he's just a friend. Life lesson that I've learned. If one of you doesn't see you as a friend, you're not friends, hun. That's a f***ing brow, bro. Look at that. I don't know if I forgot to mention this, but to raise money for college, Ella's been working in a restaurant. And one day she has Lee kind of help her out at the restaurant. And while she's there, Lee's new friend from Berkeley comes to visit. And around this time, I start to notice that everyone's acting in this movie is very like, they all do this like face, like caricature smirk thing. Like, especially this dude. Like, this dude gives me that vibe, you know, like a car salesman. Like he's trying to get me into a new Nissan Altima. But again, for some reason, Elle is really jealous that Lee's social circle is starting to include people other than just her, which to me, I'd be ecstatic. I'd be like, oh, look, more people for you to hang out with. I don't know, maybe even I might end up liking them as people. You never know. That's how friend groups are formed. Please broaden your social circles, people. Chloe and Noah meet up.
Hey, what's up, handsome?
I'm sorry. Then I guess I'm just a petty, insecure woman then, because that would get on my nerves. If I saw a straight dude friend of mine and I wanted to compliment them on how they look today, I'd be like, look at you. You look nice. You all dressed up. Who you doing for? For yourself or for others? I love that. You look good. Nice lineup. You look like you showered. But I don't go up to him and be like, hi, handsome. Anyway, y'all can call me petty and jealous all you want. I never said I was above it all. Y'all did. I'm quite below it, actually. I'm not the bigger person. Tiny. I don't even remember what the purpose of this conversation was, like why they even met up. But I guess, you know, because they're friends, they hanging out. Maybe to invite her to the water park? I don't know, who cares? There's like 8 million conflicts going on at the same time. Speaking of which, there's another one. This whole movie is not just made of montage, it is a montage. Like every event is just so poorly sewn together, but incidentally related. So another conflict is that Elle's dad has a new girlfriend. She thinks it's incredibly selfish that he would choose to be loved as a completely single man. Girl, I understand. It's hard. Like you lost your mom and it feels like he's replacing your mom. But people still deserve to be loved after their spouse dies. Water park time. So they go to the water park. And one of the things that was on that bucket list that they wanted to do before college is to dress up like the Mario Kart characters and then go for a ride in like actual carts. Which that sounds so fun. Who'd you dress up as? I'd be Kirby. Yeah. But they get dressed up in like 98-degree weather and they get in these carts fully decked out head to toe. And one of the people that comes around to play with them is Marco. Noah's there, but he was too cool to participate in dressing up like Mario Kart. Suddenly he's super jealous because he dressed up as the character that Noah was supposed to dress up as.
Give me a helmet.
There ends up being a scuffle on the road because Noah's a jealous and angry person, as we've established in the last 2 movies, and he attempts to like knock Marco off the road, but at the end of it Marco still wins and Noah just stares at him like he's sucking on a Sour Patch. Elle notices how angry he is and she's like, why? What is your problem? And Noah's like, you can't tell that he wants you. You can't tell that he likes you. If you really believe that this is just like a platonic thing, then you're super naive. Stop being so dumb. Flash mob. I don't really feel like explaining why this is here. And slowly but surely, Elle's obligations to the bucket list and to her boyfriend ultimately start to conflict with each other. Flash mob was taking place at the exact same time that she was supposed to be at a reconciliation dinner with Noah because they had been arguing about Marco. And it still ends up being like this unfulfilling time because she's ripping and running trying to appease both of them. Ding, ding, ding. Life lesson number 4 or however many. I don't know how many I've done at this point. I'd just be saying you can't be there for people if you can't be there for yourself. And you certainly can't be there for multiple people if you don't even know how to advocate for your own well-being. And what ends up being the actual conflict, not all these little conflicts of this movie, is that Elle doesn't really know how to do anything for herself. All she's thinking about is not disappointing people. She's a people pleaser. And ironically, nobody likes a people pleaser. Make sure that you're there for yourself so that you can be there for others. But with that said, all this stress compiling about not being able to be there for some people, but being there for others, and then her dad getting a girlfriend and her fears of going off to college and not knowing anything about what she wants to do. She just feels like she's letting everyone down. She unleashes this onto Marco. And at the same time, Noah and Chloe are talking, and Chloe's talking about how her parents are getting divorced. I'm just gonna ruin it for you. I thought this was gonna be a lead-in to how they break up and he starts dating Chloe, but apparently not. They were making this like weird comparison of the two. Like, we know that Marco wants Elle. We're supposed to believe they're just platonic between Noah and Chloe, but he's just consoling her as a friend apparently. Just all the other flirtation just play signal. Okay, cool. So Marco ends up being her support, but later she ends up making up with Noah, and Marco ends up seeing them kissing in the window. Side note, I used the devil plumper. It's been a while. Aptly named. I am in pain. While at a similar get together, I don't even know why they were in the same room, Noah and Marco get into a testosterone driven battle of wits over volleyball, at the end of which Noah finally confronts Marco and says, "We all see what you're doing here. We see that you want her. You're not her friend. You're not here to comfort her or whatever. You want her still, and we can all see that." That rages over into Marco punching him in the face. And apparently this is where we realize that Noah has had some development. He's grown up a little bit, because he walks away from the conflict saying, "I don't need to do this. I'm not going to do this with you anymore," which is supposed to be a development from how he used to just fight everyone in the first movie in particular. And somehow, despite constantly being called in for insubordination and like violent behavior, he still was able to go to Harvard, no questions asked. Cool, privilege. That's must be great. But I do really love how they made it so that now he's the bigger person. Now he is. Like, what happened? What happened? What did he go through that suddenly now he's the bigger person? But on his way out, he basically says to Elle, "I told you don't bring him back in our lives. I told you that he had feelings for you. And now here we are. Look at us. We look stupid." He's not wrong. It was pretty obvious. And then Noah rides away. Marco goes up to Elle and basically says, "Hey, I know I punched your boyfriend in the face, but he was right. I do still have feelings for you." And she's like, "Stop it! Not now! Stop!" I mean, if she don't want you, I'll take you for a spin. So she cries over Marco. She cries over Noah. She cries again because her new stepmom wants to play Monopoly with him. She bitches to her dad about how selfish he is for getting a girlfriend who's perfectly nice, because I guess she just expected him to die alone. And the dad basically hits her with the, "Girl, if you don't shut the fuck up, you're not the only person that has a love life. You're not the only person deserving of love." And then finally, the scene that I feel like really redeems this garbage, well, as much as you can. It recycles it, turns it into new like Tupperware instead of just going into a landfill. Noah breaks up with Elle. I don't know when he became the most mature person on set, but sure. He basically says to her, "You are very people pleasing, and I don't want to be the reason why you make decisions that you don't really want to make. You're going to Harvard because of me. You consider going to Berkeley because of Lee. What happens if you pack up your whole life to move to go to Harvard only for us to break up in a year, and now you're somewhere that you never wanted to be?" Again, what I was saying earlier, somewhere that you never wanted to be. You had no plans for this and you had no aspirations for this. There's nothing you wanted here. Go to Harvard, but you're not going with me. Love that. I know the teens won't. The teens will hate it, but I love it. I think it's great.
The fact that we love each other means nothing.
Ding, ding, ding. Loving someone is not what sustains a relationship. I really think that people think love is this, well, in the romantic sense, love is this this cure-all. We don't need food or water or respect or communication, but you love me and I love you, and that is enough. It's not, hun. Do we know what love is? I'm sorry, I'm getting very philosophical, but love isn't this like, again, this codependency that she seems to have with all of the people that she has relationships with, including her friendships. If either of you no longer have an identity independent of your partner in your relationship, you are compromising your authenticity, which ultimately hurts you and that other person. It is space coming together. It's compromise, it's understanding, it's communication. And so far, it's just you crying and bitching about how you can't please everybody. Of course you can't. That should never have been the purpose of your relationships in the first place, to find ways that you can orchestrate how best to please people. Because at the end of the day, again, you go back to look over your life and all you have is all this undealt with harbored resentment for yourself and for others. Speaking of which, at the same time, Lee is annoyed that she dropped the ball on one of their many things to do on this damn bucket list. And he started bitching like a little child. "It's about you leaving me. It's not about these things. Not about a video game. No. Ding, 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 dong." Whatever number I'm on. Friendship is not this hard. He's bitching about her not fighting for their friendship, but you don't really have to fight for friendships that often. You have conversations, again, going back to the other healthy ways to love and deal with relationships. Always proving your friendship. That's it. It's not a trial. It's not a marathon. Because if your friendships are constantly at the risk of falling apart at the seams, especially as long as they've been friends, because of what? Location? Because you're moving to a different state? Phones? FaceTime? Social media? Like, there's so many ways to be in contact with people these days. That's not even an excuse anymore. Long distance sucked in the 80s. This is like a non-issue, at least in my opinion at this point. Again, I don't think this is like friendship. This is you genuinely not having an identity outside of this other person, which is unhealthy. And it's also weird considering he has a significant other as well, and you're still this tethered to your best friend. It's very weird. I've been in situations where I've had friends kind of giving me this ultimatum, like, are you gonna throw away this friendship? And I'm like, yes. Yes, because this isn't functioning the way friendships are supposed to anymore. So yes, I will drop this. And y'all need to get better at just saying, yeah, yes, I will. I will get rid of this. I'll be okay. And also, let's go back to him bitching about this in the first place. The whole 3 movies are them doing a bunch of stupid in montage, and I miss one thing, and you're flipping out like this? We don't need to be friends anymore. You require too much. You're a full-time job. Basically, for once, Elle and me are on the same page. She's like, bitch, you got attachment issues. She don't say it like that, but basically. And she's like, these rules that we do are also stupid. We are too damn old for this. Peace. Love that. Queen. And later, Elle ends up having a conversation with Noah and Lee's mom, who's de facto become kind of a mother figure for her since her mother passed. Have you ever considered doing things for yourself? Like, you're going to Harvard for other people, you're going to Berkeley for other people. She never talked about what she wanted to study, what she wanted to learn. Everything was around being with Noah. What are you passionate about? Have you ever considered making choices off of what you want and not what others want? Have you ever considered looking into a school because of what you want and not what others want? Again, this movie is bad, and I'm not gonna sit here and try to act like it isn't. What we're not gonna do is watershed everything is garbage because the acting and most things in it are garbage. There's some tea here, and I stand by it. I didn't want to hit the table, it would rock my mic. All these relationships are in because Lee's girlfriend also decides to break up with him because she's like, school is hard without dealing with a long distance relationship. If we belong together, we may end up back together, but we need to end this now. Loved it. Loved it. Why do you have a boyfriend going into college? Like, this is your time to be on your own, meet new people, some of which you may have sex with. And like, who wants to go into college with a boyfriend? 9 times out of 10, y'all gonna break up anyway. Could have been slinging the hoo-ha here, there, and yonder, but no, you have to be loyal. For what? For what? And more importantly than that, focus on school. Again, focus on building all relationships. But I think, okay, the movie was definitely low score, but now that we're giving like decent advice to teenagers, I gotta give it at least a 5 out of 10. After breaking up with Noah, she ends up meeting up with Marco, and basically gives closure to him. Like, yeah, Noah maybe wasn't the one, but neither were you. I get why they did this. I know why they didn't want her to immediately just start dating Marco, even though that would be probably the most realistic way that would go. But I appreciated that they gave her some time to herself and to really discover what she wants instead of just jumping into a new relationship after that one ended, which again would probably be the more accurate thing, especially because he's so fine. So fine. He just needs some facial hair. He just needs it. That's all like my mama. He just needs some facial hair like you. And again, another life lesson, ding, ding, ding. I think a lot of people think that once you meet someone, once you meet a friend, once you meet a significant other, they're meant to be forever. And some people are. Some people are definitely meant to stay in your life, but some people are lessons. Some people teach you what you do and don't want in life, and that's completely okay. Just because people were there doesn't mean they have to stay. Speaking of my mom, thinking back on her, she was the type of person that was like, they were in your life, where did they go? And I was like, they're not meant to be here. They were here for a moment, they taught me what I needed to learn, and now they're gone the way it's supposed to be with them. And then other people stick around for other reasons. We traumatize that departure, and a lot of times it is quite dramatic. You'll meet other friends, you'll have other lovers. Kind of takes the sting out of it. And it's never a waste of time because you learn something at the end of it, hopefully. We have another infuriating conversation between Elle and Lee. Basically, she tells him that, yes, I lied about how I did get accepted into Berkeley and I lied to you and said I was waitlisted. She really wants to figure out what will make her happy. Lee, self-absorbed as always. Jesus, this is not about you. You need to find your happiness. Did I ever say I didn't care about your happiness? This isn't about you. My God, this isn't about leaving you. This isn't about you. This is about going off and discovering what I want. I've literally never considered it. Now I'm gonna do that without either of you. And I'll be okay. Theoretically, well, if this was me, I wouldn't talk to him anymore because he gets on my last nerves. But if you want to sustain this friendship, this does not lessen the friendship because I'm not under your armpit every hour. Instead, it's evolving into something that's a lot more healthy and less codependent than how we've been orchestrating our relationship thus far. Honestly, this is just unsustainable. I was supposed to live up under your ball sack when you get married and have kids. So instead of Harvard or Berkeley, Elle decides to go to USC. Again, I don't know when she applied there, but cool, whatever. Lee goes off to college and they have this incredibly dramatic staring off into the distance as he drives as if that going off to war. Noah and Lee's mom decides not to sell the house. I forgot that was even the thing we were worried about. And this is just funny to me, but the developers are like, well, everybody's selling these quote unquote old homes. This is like hyper modern beachfront property. But anyway, she doesn't sell it because too many memories or whatever. And now we go to the final stretch of the movie. I know what you thought. You were like, wow, Jesus, there's more? Yes. We fast forward 6 years. Now, instead of the unplucked wig, Elle has a Kris Jenner moment. I've been told this is actually her hair, which all the ways we could style a pixie, and this is what we decided with. Not a wig. We made it look like a wig. Okay. Also, I get that they're trying to make her look older, but like it's 6 years. What is she? 24? Do people think when you turn 24, you become a soccer mom? After all this time, Lee and his girlfriend end up getting back together, so that's good. They found their way back to each other if they thought that was best for themselves. They're still the bestest of besties, but hopefully with a much more healthy boundary and expectations and stuff like that. Apparently, while they're walking through the park or something, come to find out they still have the kissing booth. They forgot. They forgot they were supposed to. They definitely forgot they were supposed to. And they were like, whoa, they're still doing this? That's crazy. It was like, you. Noah and Elle reconnect in a very awkward meeting your ex on the street type of way. He's a lawyer now. Okay. Again, I'm sorry. Again, I've never seen this man read a book. Never seen him study, never seen him write anything down. But sure, he's a lawyer fresh out of Harvard Law. Cool. Now, Elle is a video game developer because that's what she really wanted to do. She had a lot of ideas for it, and I love that for her. And she's really happy with her job, really fulfilled. They separate. They leave each other with a smile. And most importantly, they don't get back together. At least not on screen. Thank God. That's the end of the movie and presumably the end of the series. Again, I can understand, especially if you were young enough to enjoy the first two movies, you would hate this movie because they don't end up together. It's like, why would you do this? Like, what? Love is supposed to be forever. Again, you meet who you love in your life when you're 18 and then you die. I actually really love that for once, romantic love wasn't the only thing important to an 18-year-old girl on screen. And that instead she decided to have her own identity and for once realized how important that was. And if love comes along the way, Noah's still there. And also, I don't understand why Noah didn't end up dating Chloe. I just felt like there was so much like sexual tension there, flirtation there to do nothing with it. But I guess that's also realistic. You don't f everyone you flirt. No, I'm joking. No, seriously, I don't. But yeah, I mean, again, we're comparing it to other garbage. So it's slightly less garbage than the garbage that I'm used to. But if everything else was like a 1 out of 10, this gets a solid 5.5. I think it deserves that. But for once, doing a story where falling in love with the toxic boy with the dark past isn't the only way that this story can end. Like, you can get out of the relationship. I kind of wish she would have ended the relationship, but, you know, potato. He's growing up and he's doing better. You know, sometimes it happens, whatever. But yeah, it's not a good movie. It's not great. I can't be mad at it because I feel like the prime demographic that would enjoy films like this need this message. So please take it. Please understand what it is. Stop putting relationships of any capacity over like your well-being, especially so young. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, feel free to like this video. Follow me on all my social media, Instagram, Twitter, all the other places too. I just sneak up in there sometimes. All of which are KennieJD. And I will see you guys next time.